Welcome to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Well, if you like points, you love today's game. Welcome inside our Extra Point show, brought to you by Ford, as the Steelers go in the fast lane and come away with a 44-38 win over Cincinnati, which to me, Arthur Moats, and we welcome in DeBody, as you know him on Twitter, here today in for Chris Hoke. That puts Cincinnati probably in a bad position, which means the last game of the year may be one that does not matter for them. So the Steelers took care of business today. They win a game. But did you expect that many points?
Listen, I don't think anybody expected that amount of points. I mean, from a historical standpoint, the fact that both of these teams were flirting with that 40-point range, this is something that we don't see in the AFC North. We see this in like Pac-12 and college football, but it was really refreshing from a Steelers fan perspective.
No question about it. And one of the big players, again, is Russell Wilson. He looks like he's recaptured some of the form that he had when he was with Seattle. Some big play calls, the moon ball. That's another one. We saw one of those today to George Pickens, and then, of course, he took a penalty on that play afterwards, which cost them really a touchdown. It would have been, I think, first and goal. Instead, they settled for a field goal. But the moon ball, man, he puts it right on the money every time he's called upon doing. His accuracy was very good today again. Absolutely.
9 of those explosive pass plays that you're referring to when we're talking the moon ball, but just plays of 15 yards or more from a passing perspective, you need that. That's explosive offense, and that's what you want to see from an offense with Russell Wilson at quarterback.
Now, if you've been watching this program a lot, you know I harp on middle of the field. But today, it was interesting. They must have noticed something about that Cincinnati defense because, all those little, like late developing plays into the middle, short passes to, it started with Najee Harris. Yeah. Was that something they must have detected throughout the course of film week?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the approach of, if they're going to give you this opportunity to dump it off to Najee Harris, to dump it off to Cordell Patterson, take those, because that 5, that 7, all those yardage add up. And from there, you start to make that defense play a little bit closer, and that was when it opened up for those deeper passes that we saw to Calvin Austin, to Van Jefferson, George Pickens, Michael Pruitt. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, that's what you want to see, and that's what you're talking about when you're looking at how Arthur Smith wants everybody to complement each other offensively, using those same big body personnel groupings, but at the same time being able to still attack you vertically down the grass.
And they got some big plays defensively. TJ Watt had 5 quarterback hits today. He had a forced fumble, and maybe the biggest play in the second half defensively was Nick Herbig around the end. Orlando Brown was cheating all day, I thought.
Man.
And then he got around him, strip sack, boom, and it's Peyton Wilson to the end zone.
And these are back-to-back weeks for Nick Herbig having explosive plays like this. We saw him in the Thursday night game against the Browns also have a strip sack, but for this one to be the field flipping variety, Peyton Wilson getting the scoop and score, getting points, that is massive. And for TJ, we have been missing him. It's been a couple of weeks since he had one of these type of games, so it was really good to see that from him as well.
Yeah, Alex Highsmith out of the game, but Nick Herbig steps up when need be. Steelers win 44-38. What we have in store for you is post-game reaction. Rich Walsh is in Cincinnati. You're going to hear from Mike Tomlin. Also, we have your calls coming up a little later in this until 6 o'clock tonight, so get buckled in. We're ready for our post-game show. We'll be back with more as we continue after a Steelers win today, 44-38, to get to 9 wins, 3 losses atop the AFC North. Back right after this.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point. The Ford F-150 is the official truck of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the best-selling truck in Pittsburgh.
Alongside Arthur Moats, Bob Pompeani back with you. Paycor Stadium is a site of a lot of pay dirt action today. Both sides of the football. That's the most points scored in an NFL game, I believe, this season. It's the first over 40-point performance for the Steelers since 2018. And Russell Wilson goes over 400 passing yards for the first time since 2019. So a lot of offense in this game, not that much defense. And quite frankly, we talked about Cincinnati's defense, which statistically is one of the worst. We saw it in person today. Give credit to the Steelers. They took advantage of it. But, man, some of those, and even the last play, you knew Justin Fields was in there for one reason and one reason only, and they go with the pitch.
Absolutely. I mean, me and you both said the same thing as soon as Justin Fields came out there. Hey, he's about to run the football. We know it's about to be a run play. And for some reason, Cincinnati just situational awareness. When you watch them on tape, that had been a little bit of their Achilles heel this season. They had made plays at times, like we saw early in the game. The pick 6 that started off by Cameron Taylor-Britt. They could make plays, but they just weren't consistent enough, and that's been their Achilles heel all season. And a lot of their losses have looked like today. Mm-hmm. One score, but 30-plus or high scores and stuff like that. And unfortunately for them, they just aren't a complete team right now.
It's ruining a really good season for Joe Burrow, who once again has numbers that you would look at and say maybe MVP type of numbers, but not when your team is losing the way it's losing. Now, we did see penalties, lots of them in this game. I haven't seen a game where you saw 2 penalties on the same person. Joey Porter Jr. got that at the end. He had 5 called against him. Now, I know he is a really in-your-face kind of defensive back, but he has the reputation from Penn State of being a little handsy at times.
Yeah.
And they're going to not call that a lot, but when they do call it, they're going to call it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Today was one of those days where the officials did decide to call it a little bit more. And for times with JPJ, you live with it. You say, man, we'll take some of these aggressive ones where you're hand fighting and it's in the 5-yard, 7-yard window. I thought for me, the penalty that bothered me the most was the pass interference in the end zone. Because from a defensive mindset, that was where he actually panicked. He had got beat early in the down end instead of just trusting his technique and understanding that, hey, I can get back in this thing. He panicked and from there grabbed the guy, and now you get 1st and goal at the 1-yard line. We obviously know how that rest of that drive ended. So that was the one penalty for me that I would want to take back from him. But as a whole, the other ones, that's a part of his game, and you live with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. He panicked. There was on the 3rd penalty on that play, it was an offside on the Steelers, so it was a free play for Joe Burrow, and he knew that. So, that pass didn't look like it was catchable at all, but they called it anyway, and he shouldn't have done that, but he did, and they overcame it. But that's something I'm sure will be a focal point for Mike Tomlin moving forward. Now, let's take a look at the scoring summary, and if you got about an hour, we can recap this game for you. So Cam Taylor-Britt right off the bat, a 51-yard interception, pick 6 return to make it 7-0. A lot of debate about that call. We'll talk about it as we go along. But that was quickly responded by the Steelers. George Pickens, 17-yard touchdown catch to make it a 7-7 game. But then it's Chase Brown with a 1-yard score. They go up by a touchdown. Immediately do the Steelers come back. Russell Wilson with another beautiful throw. Calvin Austin, middle of the field. Now, he got banged up today a couple of times. 23-yard reception. That ties the game. Jamar Chase gets a 4-yard score. Back and forth they go, but Najee Harris is an opening of the sea right there. The left side of that offensive line did a great job along with Darnell Washington. And so Najee Harris had an easy 10-yard score. That ties the game. And then they made a defensive stop, which set up Chris Boswell for 50 yards. So 24-21. At that point, they got another Boswell field goal to make it 27-21 right before halftime. Second half, after McPherson has scored, it was Freiermuth with a 25-yard touchdown. And that was a nice play as well. Using a lot of the middle of the field here. Peyton Wilson, that's the game we were talking about because, that's a play that if Cincinnati has the ball, they can come back and make it a 3-point game. Instead, it moved to a 17-point lead with Wilson with a 21-yard score. Higgins scores after that. Boswell gets a 30-yard field goal. And then another touchdown at the end of the game, which was set up by a 50-yarder. I'm not sure. I think it was Jamar Chase, who had it, right, Arthur? So there's so many plays to try to remember in this game, but that's your scoring summary at 44-38. So the Steelers will take that one, certainly coming off that Cleveland game 9 days ago. I thought Cincinnati with a full bye week, would be better defensively in this game. But they weren't. They actually were worse.
Well, and I would say not only were they worse, I thought offensively for the Steelers, they benefited from that additional time from the Thursday night game. I thought from a concept standpoint, they attacked the middle of the field at a higher clip, and we saw the production really show up there. The Calvin Austin touchdown pass that we saw, that was the same play that we saw on Thursday night. They just brought it out earlier this time. They didn't wait until the 4th quarter. And I thought as a whole, that was that self-scouting that the Steelers did during that additional pseudo-bye week that they had following the Thursday night game.
I know a lot of people out there are going to call our next show and say, where is Mike Williams? So I ask you, where is Mike Williams?
I mean, he started today.
He did.
He started. He was out there. Unfortunately, it just wasn't his day in terms of participation from Russ. It looks like with Russ, he did find a little bit more comfort with George Pickens, with Calvin Austin. We saw Pat Freiermuth multiple times today. Darnell Washington also showed up. I thought that for, with Russ, those were the guys that kind of showed up. And he also, I felt like when we talk about Russ going off script and hitting that one guy that we don't always have on our bingo card, you could say either Michael Pruitt or Ben Skronik, because both of those guys had big-time plays for this offense as well.
All right, Mike Tomlin is at the podium.
Man, particularly if you spot a group like that, 7, they had big-time urgency, man, for a lot of reasons. And so to come in here in their place against the type of quality team that they have, and in this environment and smile in the face of it and get out of here with the necessary win, man, it just can't say enough about the efforts of the guys in that locker room, the splash playmaking continually over the course of 60 minutes. We knew it would be required. We even talked about the 4th quarter component. This team we played today always comes storming back in the 4th. They did it against LAC just on the front side of their bye. And so we don't take the end of the game for granted, man. We're thankful for the victory. Obviously, we got some things to clean up. but that's life in this business. It's good to do it with a W. Calvin Austin is being evaluated for concussion. Other than that, it just appears to be bumps and bruises associated with play. Questions?
Mike, when you come into a game like this with the Bengals offense, did you know your offense is going to be tested? And can you talk about how Russ and your offense responded?
You know, it's always a challenge. You know, the intimacy of these divisional relationships. We know them, they know us. But I just thought our group, in the face of it, particularly Russ, you know, it's the first time for him going through this AFC North football, and man, I thought he acclimated himself to it well today. He put himself squarely in the history of these series and this series with that performance today, man, and we're thankful for it.
You started out throwing a lot, I think 9 of the first 11. Was that part of what they were giving you, or partly because you just wanted to come out and attack?
Both. You know, we wanted to come out and attack because we knew what they would give us. And so, you know, that's what I mean about the depths of these waters, man, these divisional relationships. It is not checkers, it's chess.
Is there something you guys saw in terms of getting involved with running backs in the passing game?
You know, we just want to get them out of spot drop zones and challenge them into more man-to-man things. And, you know, checking the ball down versus spot drop zones is a means of doing it.
40-plus points for the first time since 2018. Your quarterbacks have 2 more touchdown passes than the entire crew last year at this point. Could you just talk about the offense with Arthur Smith?
I don't care about last year.
How about now, just your offense and Arthur Smith and what you think of it?
Man, we needed all 44 of those points today, didn't we? You know, you're playing against Joe Burrow and company, you know, chances are you're going to have to score some points. That's why we took advantage of the mini-bye in terms of focusing our energies on red zone performance, and I'm thankful for that. It looked like we reaped the benefits of that labor today with the way they performed, particularly in the red area.
Mike's second game back, can you speak to the impact of the play Herbig made on that strip?
We expect Herbig to do great things. Herbig expects Herbig to do great things. He's a talented young guy. We knew that would be a critical matchup, to be quite honest with you. We knew they'd throw some schematics over there at TJ, and so, you know, that's just a responsibility with playing that spot. Alex Highsmith owns it. Herbig owns it. I'm appreciative of it.
Mike, but as well as Russ has played, Cam Heyward on the defensive side, they're your 2 oldest players. What sort of example might that set for younger guys who are just setting a standard? You know, to get their play, although obviously it's appreciated, it's the things that tee up their performance. It's their day-to-day. It's how they go about their business. It's their level of professionalism. It's the amount of buy-in that they have regarding team. I'm hoping that the young guys see and pay just as much attention to that as they do the playmaking.
Mike, I know you talked to him, but what can you do going on with Georgia?
You know, you just got to grow up, man. It's an emotional game, man. These divisional games are big. He got a target on his back because he's George. He understands that. But he's got to grow up. He's got to grow up in a hurry.
Mike, you guys targeted 10 different guys, or 10 different guys caught passes today. Do you feel like that's a big part of your offense, that you guys look at you with the balance intact?
You know, we feel comfortable with our group. You guys, you know, asked us about that a lot over the course of the journey. You know, we gained that confidence in team development. There's a lot of different playmaking coming from a lot of different people in Latrobe. And so this is just kind of a continuation of that.
You've obviously seen him do it for a long time, but what can you say about the season Cam's having so far and his performance today?
We expect it. He expects it. You know, I just piggyback his mentality. He's got ridiculously high expectations for himself, and I support that.
Mike, obviously Najee was fighting through something. Can you speak to his impact on this game as well today?
Man, I thought his efforts were rock solid, man. He's a big-time competitor. Naj has been, you know, obviously with us for a number of years, and so he knows the weight of these games in environments like this. Less than ideal in terms of how he was feeling, but he was going to be there for his teammates, I'm sure.
Patterson really came through in Naj was out.
He did. Thankful for his efforts, but you don't get out of stadiums like this without a total team effort, man. Everybody in helmet has been Skoranek. I mean, everybody made plays, man. I'm appreciative.
Mike, Joey got called for several penalties in this game. What does he have to do to be better in those moments?
You know, T. Higgins got a lot to do with that, man. T is a goon. He is. You can't let him beat you up while at the same time, You know, the officials are going to call it the way they're going to call it. And so, you know, sometimes, man, I can absorb some of that comes with that. You know, you cannot let a big dude like that beat you up. You got to match the fire with the fire. You hope that you do it clean enough that doesn't draw a bunch of penalties. We weren't as successful in that regard today. We'll keep working. But one thing we're not going to do is let that guy goon us.
What was your thought process?
Last one here.
What was your thought process at the end of the first half? Did you think about calling a timeout earlier? Did you take another shot at the end zone?
No, I didn't.
All right.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin. T is a goon. We're not going to let him goon us. But that is a tough matchup. I mean, as tall as Joey Porter is, as big as his wingspan is, that guy is still bigger. And he's going to go and make those plays. But and as we said earlier, Arthur, some days officials let a lot of that go. This crew was not going to let it go. So it did not bode well. And I was surprised they didn't go back to him as much as they could have.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was one of those things where today we did see the officials calling it a little bit tougher on JPJ. I mean, the flip side is when you look at how they were officiating George Pickens, we're like, hey, if you're going to call it that ticky-tack at times, we would just appreciate you doing it on both sides of the ball. But that's the part where, like Coach Tomlin said, man, with the officials, they're going to call it how they call it. And you just live with the ones that you feel are live with the bull. And that was, for me, all the penalties except that one where he panicked in the end zone and essentially tackled the guy, giving you a 1st and goal at the 1-yard line. The other ones, you have to match T. Higgins' physicality. You have to match that mindset and intensity. Otherwise, he will bully you for 4 quarters, and we've seen that throughout his body work as a professional. George
Pickens had a good game, down the field, but he also got twice unsportsmanlike conduct. The second one, okay, it's a league-wide kind of thing. I understand. I thought he was going to be ejected because that would have been his second one. But you heard Mike Tomlin talk about he has to grow up. He has to grow up quickly. What other message can you give him to know he can't do that kind of stuff?
I mean, that's the reality of it for George Pickens. He understands that as well at this stage, but he is still very young. And I think we all have to allow him to have some grace as we watch him mature, as we watch him on the biggest stage while he's scoring touchdowns, while he's competing at the highest level, and still be able to express himself, but within the confines of the rule book. And I think for a young player like him, that's what he's working for. But hopefully he'll get that fixed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, those can be very costly, and it did result in what would have been a 1st and goal turning into just 3 points. So got to make sure that changes. It's unacceptable for this team to go through that. When we come back, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson, who had a 400-yard passing game plus. That's all coming up as we continue right here on The Extra Point, brought to you by Ford. The Steelers go in the fast lane to win 44-38, outscoring Cincinnati to get to 8-3 and potentially putting a dagger in the Bengals' playoff hopes. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. Bob Pompeani along with Arthur Moats here after the game, and these are your final stats brought to you by McClellan's Contracting and Roofing. And when you break it down, the pass yards are there. They went over 500 for the game here if you add them all together, Arthur. But what's the biggest takeaway for you in that stat pack?
Man, the big takeaway for me is the fact that we were able to have 400-plus passing yards, but still over 100 on the ground, meaning we were not one-dimensional. A lot of times when we think of a passing attack, we feel like we have to sacrifice the ability to run the ball, but that wasn't the case. Najee Harris averaged, 4.7 yards per carry today, and we had some nice explosive runs from Cordell Patterson as well.
And Jaylen Warren being used in the pass game. There are a lot of things there. Again, the middle of the field, out of the backfield, the little delayed passes to a vacated area by Cincinnati's defense. I want to just point this out, that T.J. Watt with his 2 sacks gets to 106 in his career. You're mindful, he's only 8 years in this game. He surpasses Jared Allen, who had 105, so he's climbing that list for sure. In the meantime, Dan Moore prevented a guy who led the NFL in sacks. That's Trey Hendrickson, who came in 11.5. Moore did a very good job on him. Let's hear what he had to say after the game.
Really proud of 3. You guys didn't punt until the 4th quarter. We scored every time. Did you feel that, okay, we got this from the beginning? Or?
Yeah, I mean, that pick 6 that happened early in the game, man, I thought we responded well. I thought we executed really well on offense. We knew once we got in rhythm that it was nothing they could do to stop us. It was all on us, small penalties, just little thing, drive stoppers. So once we got rolling, it felt good to just continue to ride the wave.
Didn't hear Trey Hendrickson's name much today.
Yeah, man. So credit to all the guys, credit to Russ, getting the ball out, love that. And just staying on schedule, man, and playing good team ball. we had a good plan against them. Thought the tight ends really did a good job chipping them and helping me out, but definitely eliminated that guy today.
Pretty good feeling, understand.
Definitely. I don't know the last time I scored 40 points here, if we scored 40 points. Oh, wow. So I wasn't here. So, yeah, I mean, anytime you can do that in the National Football League, that obviously feels amazing. So, you know, we just got to keep building on this performance offensively and just keep going.
Yeah, when you have games like this, it's high scoring, back and forth, you need those splash plays, and you kind of got it. That's what you guys have been doing all year, complimentary football.
Yeah, I mean, like you said it best, complimentary football. You know, when I feel like when defense needs us, we got their back, and when we need them, they got ours. So good job playing team football today. We made some plays, they made some plays, but ultimately we got the job done, and that's all that matters.
500 yards.
Dan Moore, coming off a game in which he, was on that side of Myles Garrett, getting 3 sacks and a lot of other activity in the backfield. Says a lot about his bounce back ability, because this guy that he was going up against today, we did not hear his name, Trey Hendrickson, hardly at all.
Yeah, and Trey Hendrickson leads the NFL in sacks currently this year with 11.5. So for Dan to come off of the performance versus Myles Garrett, where we know it wasn't his best, and we know how loud Steelers Nation can get at times for Dan Moore, for him to be able to ultimately hush that noise and come out here versus a really, really good pass rusher who's having a great season and ultimately blank him. I mean, like we said, we didn't even hear a ton of it, but as a whole with this group, 2 sacks allowed on Russell Wilson. I mean, he had time to carve up this Bengals defense the way that he did, to the tune of 29 for 38, 414 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a testament to this offensive line, the protection that they were able to provide. And from there, Russ staying on schedule. That was the other thing that Dan Moore said, and that matters. It's not always about, hey, can you block this guy? How long are you asking them to block this guy? How long are the down and distances? All of that matters.
I think that's a huge point. He gets it out, and he was more comfortable in the pocket because of it, and he also moved that football around. Pat Freiermuth was a bigger part of this offense today with 7 targets, 6 catches, including a touchdown. Let's hear from him after the game in Cincinnati.
Complimentary football, I mean, I think the biggest thing that for us in my mind when, they had the pick 6 the first drive, we were able to come back and kind of negate that, go 7-7, make it even score game again. And so I think it was big time. Obviously, we kind of doubled them up. Did we score right after when we came out in the first half or no? Yeah, so we were able to double them up. So that was big time. And so, we were just playing complimentary football. And when you play that, you're going to win a lot of games.
We state the obvious here, but how big was this win against a division opponent on the road?
It was big, being able to get the 2 wins in the division, especially on the road after last week performance. And, we were, the most physically dominant team out there. We pride ourselves on that. Being well-conditioned, Latrobe, all that kind of stuff. And so we were able to impose our will on the defense and, hopefully we continue that next week.
All right, let's talk about Muth's day here. And you'll see the 6 receptions, 7 targets, 68 yards. One of those was a 25-yard touchdown, and he had to feel great about getting in there. Tight ends, a big part of Arthur Smith. There's no question about that. You see a lot of them. Michael Pruitt got in this game, made a big reception on what would have been a penalty anyway. But I think Pat Freiermuth is a big part of this thing moving forward.
No, he absolutely is. And he's one of those guys that when you're talking about defensively, that's the mismatch because of his athleticism, his ability to run after the catch. And we've also seen with Arthur Smith, his ability to stretch the field a little bit more. And Arthur Smith is a tight ends guy. That's his background. So for him, you see the uptick in production from Pat Freiermuth, from Michael Pruitt, from Darnell Washington and company. And I think that's only going to continue. And I would say that Russell Wilson does a really good job of actually identifying those guys and utilizing them. He's not going to them as option 3. Sometimes he's going to those guys as option 1. And we're seeing the uptick in production from them because of that.
Well, one guy you talked about earlier, and it's the same play that we saw in Cleveland over the middle of the field, is Calvin Austin. And I got to tell you, he's fearless when he goes in the middle of the field. He took a couple of poundings today and is being looked at for concussion potential here, so hopefully he's doing all right. But, man, he's a guy who's sure-handed, too. We see that on punt returns all the time. How important is he moving forward in this offense? They're using him more in the middle of the field.
Yeah, Calvin Austin is a big part of this offense. He provides that vertical threat, and he does it outside of the traditional outside the numbers plays that we see from George Pickens or that we're wanting to see more of from Mike Williams. They will put Calvin Austin in the slot. He's the guy that they'll have off the ball at times, and with his speed, he is a true mismatch for a lot of the nickel cornerbacks that we saw. You look at that touchdown pass that he had, who was guarding him? Mike Hilton, a guy that we are very familiar with. But when you're talking about the speed difference between those guys, that's what Calvin Austin brings on a week in and week out basis, and that's why his production has been as good as it's been this season. I mean, this guy scored 4 touchdowns already this year.
He has, and a guy who we haven't talked a lot about is Van Jefferson. But this goes to show you that play. It was late in the game. It was 3rd and 8, I believe, and you could tell Cincinnati was going to send everyone after Russell Wilson. He knew that, so he gets single coverage, puts it right on the money. I don't know what the DB was doing on that play because he went on the inside or outside, and the pass was on the inside. It was a good throw by Wilson, but Van Jefferson even got into the sack.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And even pre-snap, you could see where Cincinnati was given one of those premium looks where you knew it was going to be one-on-one coverage. And if you're Cincinnati, defensively, you're picking your poison. You're saying, hey, I feel like my guy one-on-one on the backside versus Van Jefferson, he has to win that matchup. And the flip side, Arthur Smith is telling Van Jefferson, if you get one-on-one in this look right here, you have to win. It went to the inside. Russ, don't miss the layup. And you saw a beautiful pass right there, obviously an explosive play, and that was one of those, what we call the nail in the coffin sort of plays at the end of the game.
Yeah, no question about it. Russell Wilson, for the money they're paying him, which is not much compared to what Denver's paying him, man, what a pickup that was, as well as Justin Fields, who put this game on ice. When we come back, you're going to hear from Russell Wilson on his big day in Cincinnati as the Steelers move to 9 wins and 3 losses. It's coming up as we continue right here on your Forward Extra Point show on KDKA+. Paycor Stadium, the Escalooser was in full force today. Bengal fans left unhappy again. They've been bad at home this year, and the Steelers made it worse.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
We continue here and take a look at the quarterback comparison, and you'll see Joe Burrow, this is typical of his year. He's had good games. This is not one of his better games, believe it or not. He's had 9 touchdown passes in 2 games against Baltimore. Today, the Steelers did a fairly decent job, but you're not going to stop him. Just try to contain him. But you look at the numbers for Russell Wilson. I mean, that's a tremendous completion percentage, the yardage, and that's after the first interception return, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But what's your takeaway from this matchup?
Man, let Russ cook. Man, when I look at these numbers, they're almost identical. But what was the difference? Russ obviously had the pick 6. Don't forget, Joe Burrow had the strip sack for a fumble recovery touchdown. So that evened out. But when we look at the explosive plays that both of these quarterbacks had, Joe Burrow was around 6 explosive passing plays. You look at Russell Wilson, 9 explosive passing plays, and that's the difference in that yardage, but it was about a 100-yard difference right there. Outside of that, both of these quarterbacks showed up and played at a very high level, and we know with Joe Burrow, he is on a MVP pace this season. It's just sorry that, his team sucks. If you were on a team with 9 wins, I mean, he's the front runner. But, as a whole, yes, the defense. The defense is the struggling part. But, that was the big takeaway for me, man. I just thought that Russ, in those handful of plays, he was able to have a couple of more explosives down the yard, and that was the big difference in terms of us being able to get some separation from a scoring perspective.
And you might remember that Mike Tomlin kind of went rogue when he decided to go to Russell Wilson. It was Justin Fields who was 4-2. A lot of people didn't think that was the right move. Well, Mike Tomlin knew what he was doing and brought him in there, and he's been outstanding ever since. All right, Russell Wilson spoke after the game. This is what he had to say from the podium at Paycor.
I thought we had a great day. I mean, it all starts with the offensive line. I thought they did a tremendous job. Multiple looks up front and all the things they do and the multiplicity of their defense. I thought, the O-line handled it in a great way. We got to a lot of checks, a lot of audibles, a lot of moments in time, and the run game and the pass game, getting to stuff that was favorable looks and everything else. And I just think guys did a great job making plays. I mean, I thought George made a great catch down the sideline. I thought Pat's plays on his scrambles, and also too just how he was painting clear pictures. I always say, the best receivers are always painting a clear picture. Those guys were painting great pictures today. I thought guys made a lot of plays. I thought Najee ran the ball extremely well. That was huge for us in our run game, and he just had a great day, man. And I thought just everybody was a great team effort. And then when you see the defense just respond, make plays for us after we have some great responses, they made a huge play. Obviously, I thought Herbig had a great game rushing off the edge. TJ obviously is best in the world. Cam Heyward, our leaders, really stepped up in a huge way today. I think that was really critical. Obviously, it was always cool to see my fellow NC State guy, Peyton Wilson, score a touchdown too. So, it was just fun, man. We just had a great time. We knew it was a matchup. We knew it was going to be a heavyweight fight. I kept telling the guys it's going to be a heavyweight fight, and we got to win it.
Did you like the way, because of that, the way the offense responded, knowing it might turn into a shootout?
Yeah, I thought the best thing we did today was respond in the midst of adversity. I thought that we did a great job of scoring touchdowns, making plays. We felt like there was more plays out there too that we could have had. But what it really is a testament to our coaching staff, it's a testament to our players, and our work ethic and the discipline that we put into the week. And we knew that this was going to be like I said, a heavyweight fight, and we had to respond and keep swinging.
Russ, you talked about for the confidence. You talked about responding in the face of adversity. Obviously, you don't want to start with a pick six. What did you see on that play, and what did you think to bounce back?
Yeah, Georgia's run the slant. They kind of pulled them down, to be honest with you. We tried to throw it on time and in rhythm, and we thought that we could have gotten a penalty there, but they did a good job of making that play, and it's just football. It was one of those, as soon as I threw it, George, went to the ground, and it's just unfortunate. But more than anything else, though, I just, like I was saying earlier, I just think our response was great. I thought that we did a really good job of staying confident and not letting one play phase us. I always say to the guys, there's 75 plays, and we want to have a collection of great moments, and I think that we did that today.
Well, they certainly did, and they did it big time. Najee Harris was running hard as he has. Let's go right there now live.
So we took advantage of that. We knew exactly what they was going to do, and we took advantage of it.
What does it say with this offense that 10 different guys can catch passes and you guys can play at this level?
I mean, it just shows how versatile we are. We're establishing run, and also we want to establish the pass. We want to be, we want to be a one-dimensional team. We want to be both. It showed out today. A lot of guys came in, a lot of guys played and performed and made big plays for us. It just shows you the type of offense that we are, and we could become even better.
What did you see out of your offensive line? You have like Broderick Jones, Frazier, they moved.
Frack Frazier, yeah, everybody, man. They did a great job. Like I always give credit to the O-line, but especially the tight ends, though. I think that all them guys came in there and did a great job of just accepting the challenge that Mike T placed upon them, and we took advantage of that. And that's what it comes down to. All of us got to create those explosive plays, runs. It takes all of us, the line and the tight end, running backs. It takes all of us and receivers, and that just shows it today.
What happened when early in the game you kind of came up a little slow after one of the runs? You were on the sideline for a little bit, get checked out.
It was Thanksgiving. Pat's girlfriend Jill, she made this fire-ass little banana thing, and I had too much. So I guess that I didn't know it affected me until that first drive. So I blame her.
You shake it off and digest it, okay?
Yeah. I got some oranges and that was good.
Now, you play with a number of different quarterbacks here. What's different about Russ?
Russ comes in, and he first Russ and Justin, obviously Kyle too, and then just his experience of obviously the knowledge and everything of the game and the years he played. He knows things in and out, and his progression of if that's not there, then obviously get to down there and to get down and check down. He knows his progressions, and it's kind of like it's on point. So Russ coming in with a lot of experience and kind of just motivating us and telling us certain things in the huddle. We need that. Times I've been here, other than Ben, we really had like a younger quarterbacks with just not a lot of experience of just the game. And I think that's one thing that Russ has is just his knowledge of the game. Same thing it was with Ben. Ben will kind of do stuff like that because these guys who did 10 plus years. And 10 plus years at quarterback, all certain defenses they get into, cover one, cover two, scab on the back, and all these little things and ins and outs. And that's what you need. You need a guy like that who kind of knows. I think he has probably him, CP, and I forgot who else, but they are like the most guys who got the most experience. Other than that, we're all kind of still like fourth year, fifth year, third year, second year, and we need kind of like that veteran guy. And that's Russ.
What was it like to, how important was it to see Russ get 10 different guys involved, especially the backs and tight ends?
It was good. Like I said, it opens up a lot of things for us, especially in the run game. I remember a lot of times, just being one high a lot. My time being here, and not really too much scared of that deep ball threat. And Russ just does a good job of getting everybody the ball where it can keep defenses on their toes. And we do a good job of that.
Two more.
All right, Najee Harris, 16 carries, 75 yards. As always, angry runs in there. 4.7, that's a healthy average, a touchdown. And you see the receiving yards as well for 6 for 54. But next time you see an injury report after Thanksgiving and you see some fire banana thing coming at you 3 days later, whatever Pat Fryermuth's girlfriend or fiance made took an effect on him as he was going to the sideline. We were trying to guess up there. What is it? We never would have thought it's some fire banana thing.
Shout out to the fire banana pudding or whatever that was, man. Yeah, well, whatever that was, they need to eat it again, though, because clearly the production for Najee was there. Like you said, 16 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. That's 4.7 yards per rush. And then he still was able to get you some production through the air. 6 catches, 54 yards, had the 25-yard dump-off pass that he was able to make a couple of guys miss on, and have an explosive play. I mean, it was a big day for Najee in both of those phases. And when you hear him talk, this is a guy that has lived the time frame when it was Ben, but he was also here when it was Trubisky, when we transitioned from Trubisky to Kenny Pickett, and then from Pickett to Mason. So for him, when he speaks of the veteran, when he talks about having a quarterback that makes these defenses have to respect the deep ball, because if you don't, Russ can throw for 400 yards in a game, and we're not surprised by it because we know how capable he is. That's the part for Najee where it's a breath of fresh air, and he has an offensive line in front of him that are moving people out the way, and that's the other part that you love to see for him. So when I think of Najee, I'm just like, man, after all those years prior to this, you finally had that offense, and you're able to fully, show what you're capable of.
No question about that. When he said Thanksgiving thing, I thought first it was a delayed reaction to tryptophan, but it wasn't. It was some banana fire thing. All right. Let's talk about, George Pickens. We're just hearing now he's live at the podium. Let's take you there right now.
Advantage of a Bengals defense that's been battered, has had some injuries, and you guys can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I'll probably just say capitalize and making plays.
George, what does it mean to your group to have a 44-point game?
It's always good to score. But as far as the meaning of it, doesn't mean we got to do that every game.
George, did you come in knowing the type of team you're playing, you're going to have to score points, and how do you think glad that you guys responded to that?
Yeah, we kind of knew what, Burrow, T, and Jamar, so we knew we were going to be having to score for sure.
George, what does it say about your offense? 10 different guys catch passes, and you guys able to move this much down the field?
Yeah, when you're doing that, you got a prolific offense.
What did the officials tell you why that flag, especially the second one, or something they didn't like that they gave you?
Yeah, they said they got the gesture wrong. You know what I mean? Thought it was something else. You can't hurt the team. I never intend to hurt the team, but he just thought the gesture was different.
What was the gesture?
I'm not sure. I was doing the first down. He said he thought something else.
George, did you get an explanation for there not being a DPI or hands to the face or anything on the play that ended up being a pick six?
Yeah, plays happen. Guys hold me. These guys, I'm going to get held. I'm one of the top receivers, so I'm going to get held. You just got to make plays when they happen.
What did Broderick say after it looked like he came to you after they called the one penalty on you? As if he had a conversation with you?
Yeah, he didn't really say much. To be honest, it was kind of a ticky-tack game. Just glad we came out with the dub.
Russ said he talked to you throughout the game and was saying, big-time players make those plays but don't need those celebrations. How much does that kind of stuff set in with you? Maybe not so much in the flow of the game, but after the fact.
Yeah, that's like something I already know. I'll just probably say, the refs thinking different gestures, could hurt the team. But like I said, I never want to hurt the team, and you never want to get penalties.
Did you get an explanation on the first unsportsmanlike?
No.
You think you got a target on your back with the officials?
I hope not. I'm only out here just playing like every other receiver in the league. Certain calls don't go my way. All you can do is just keep playing.
George, you think
All right, yeah, he kept playing today. Only 3 receptions, but some big yardage there for the 374 yards. Got the touchdown, 6 target. The touchdown was relatively easy, too, as he gets into the end zone early in this game. But he addressed that first play, and, at first it looked like he stumbled a little bit. Yeah. But you heard Gene Steratore on the broadcast say they could have called illegal hands to the face, but it was one of those calls that, because he stumbled, I think influenced what the officials saw.
Yeah, I would agree. I always say when it's a play like that, I ask myself, if it was us on defense and this is Joey Porter Jr., would I want this to be a flag? I thought because of him stumbling a little bit, I had agreed with you as well that, it kind of made sense to just let the play out. Now, the result sucked because obviously it was the pick six, but as a whole, I didn't look at that and, feel just overly one way or the other about it. But what I will say is this, his ability to respond to that play, because you could see he was frustrated. You saw Coach Tomlin have that interaction with him on the sideline where he did kind of reassure him and give him some confidence. We saw them come right back to him on that next drive, and he had the 19-yard screen play that he took for a touchdown. So for him, I'm a big fan of how he responds to this adversity because, as we said, he is a young player. And when you're young in the spotlight, all the eyes are on you. Us as professionals, we're older, we've lived it, we've matured a lot faster, or just matured, along the way. We look and we want instant results from him. We want him to answer the exact way he's supposed to every time. When you score a touchdown, do it like Larry Fitzgerald, just hand the football to the ref, go to the sideline. But for him, he's still growing up and he's still learning how he can express himself and find his voice at this stage without compromising the team's success or even how we view him as a person as well.
Well, he said that afterwards, and that's a good step in the first direction, is if you know you're having a problem there, he said, I don't want to cost the team. You do cost the team when you make stuff like that. So hopefully a learning experience. When we come back, we're going to talk some defense. We've been spending a lot of time on offense, but defense made some big plays. TJ Watt got in on it, so did Cam Heyward and others. We'll get into it when we come back. Steelers win 44-38. They are now 9-3 right here on the Ford Extra Point.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. Leading tacklers today, you see Deshaun Elliott here. He's always at the top of the list, 11 total, 7 solo. Patrick Queen had some ups and downs in this game. There are a couple of passes in the middle of the field I'm sure he'd like to have back. Minkah Fitzpatrick still looking for one of those big plays, but he's manning center field out there. Cam Heyward, can't say enough about him. I always say he's aging like fine wine, man. It gets better with him. He had a pass deflected right into the hands of Dante Jackson for his 5th interception, and Joey Porter was active, but people are going to talk about his penalties more than that. But how about Heyward has been unbelievable, and he spoke after the game. Let's hear from number 97.
We're a team. Obviously, we got some things to clean up on defense. But anytime your offense scores 41 points or, was it 41 or? 44. Oh, damn, 44. I forgot the other 30. But, damn, they came through in a big way and just appreciative of it. We understand we're not going to play perfect every game, but even when you're not perfect, you can win games. It's a good recipe.
But it's becoming routine with the defense making key plays and key moments in games, kind of sealing for you guys.
Yeah, I think we relish those moments. 3 turnovers is critical versus that offense, and like I talked about earlier in the week, it comes down to those critical plays versus them because. They're such an explosive offense. You have to capitalize on them. If you don't, you usually lose those games.
What's the key to staying in the right mindset to make those plays when things aren't going your way in games?
Rely on your technique. Get off blocks, be disruptive, but understand there's a lot of football to play. And not overthink it. We just got to keep playing.
How important was it to get a division win like this on the road? I mean, I know this is an obvious question, but this is
very important. We got 3 and we got another one on the way, so we understand how critical these are. It's a tight race in our division, but we welcome the challenge, and now we can focus on Cleveland.
Cam, I know you're a team first guy, obviously being captain, but do you feel like you're playing some of the best football you've ever played?
I think so. I think I'm just trying to get better every year and take what I did last year, apply it to this year, and that applies throughout my entire career. There's always something to work on, whether it's getting off blocks, using my hands, having better technique, being a better student in the game. If you sit on it and just say, yeah, I'm a pretty good player, what I did in the past matters, shame on you. I'm always trying to, find little edges and find little keys to get better.
How do you balance getting up 30 points, 400 yards, but winning a game against a tough team in the
You think I balance that? I'll never lose sight of the goal. It's to win the game. But, it's better to win and learn than...
There are a lot of plays that you had to like from Cam Heyward. The one that sticks out for me is right at the goal line. It's 1st and goal for Cincinnati, and he just absolutely pancaked.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it was Chase Brown or whomever it was in there. he felt the wrath of all that falling on top of him.
Yeah, when you talk about Cam, this is one of those guys that not only can do it versus the run like you talk about on that play, but you saw him against the pass as well. We had the big tip pass that ultimately Dante Jackson was able to get the interception off of, but he also provided pressure where he had a sack and he had a near sack as well. I think Joe Burrow ended up getting maybe a yard on the scramble, but as a whole, that is a active day. That is a productive day. And when you throw that in the mix of what Herbig was doing, what TJ Watt was doing, now you have this environment that helps you get out of a stadium versus a Cincinnati Bengals team that we know is prolific on offense.
TJ Watt, another big day for him, even though they're double teaming him on most days, had 4 tackles for losses, 2 sacks, gives him 106 in his career. He spoke after the game as well.
Last week, trying to get back on track, especially here, being away with 4 points.
Yeah, huge. Obviously, AFC North football, especially on the road. If you want the ball to come through Pittsburgh, you have to win on the road, especially in the North. And it feels great to get a win. We knew it was going to be a shootout. Our offense did a great job of putting up points. Russ had a hell of a day, and we were able to create splash. Dante again, and obviously Herb are guys that are continuing to show up, and that's stuff that we preach. Again, Denzel Martin's been a key point of takeaways and everybody wanting T-shirts and all that stuff. So it's been a good culture so far.
It's nice to know that the offense can do that in a game where you're going to need them when you know it's playing.
100%. I mean, elite defense has spent a lot of time on the bench. I've said it ever since I've been here. And we've been spending a lot of time on the bench this year. And it's been great to see the offense continue to move the ball like they are.
TJ, can you describe your strip sack and the momentum you thought maybe it gave your team?
Just trying to make a play. Just anytime I'm around the ball, just trying to continue to ball search and try to make a play, create a turnover. Joe did a great job all game of stepping up through that B gap and climbing the pocket. And that was just a way of retracing and getting after the football and creating a play.
TJ, you lined up several different spots in this game. Was that something you guys were saving for this week with this opponent? Is that something that you guys have been working on to feature?
Just something that we're continuing to work on. I think I told you guys on Friday, like we're going to continue to try to move around and find those one-on-one matchups, the matchups throughout the week, and something we're dipping our toe in the water, and I'm sure the package will continue to grow, or not even a package, but moving around will continue to grow as the year goes on.
What have you seen from Cam this year and just the season that he's having?
Heyward? I mean, he's an old dude that's playing some really good football, very stout. I know he wants to be out there every snap, but he's making every single snap that he's in there count. A guy that's just a true leader, a true stealer, one-helmet guy. He preaches install and kick-ass all week, him and Dunbar, and he goes out there each and every week and shows why he's one of the best in the world.
You guys have talked about Joe rolling out to his right, looking downfield. How much of that strip sack was something that was by design to try to get him in those situations to get after him?
Yeah, early on we weren't doing that, and he was able to climb and create those extended plays, and they're very good at it, especially one coming across on some dig routes and stuff, extensions. And it just got to a point where, like, when you get to the top of the rush, we need to come back down and able to make a play, and it paid off.
I know you work with Nick a lot. I imagine you expect to see more of that going forward. Speak to that ball.
Yeah, Herb's a young baller. He's continuing to grow. Like I say, each and every week he takes coaching really well, and nothing's personal. If you tell him to correct something, he does it. And he's got his own set of moves that he brings to the room too, that we're all trying to learn, and he's trying to do the same to us. And he's just a guy that brings a lot to this defense, and as you can see, he can play with the best of them. I know people talk a lot of crap about his size, his lack of speed. I know I'm faster than him, you can tell him that, but the kid balls out and he plays good football. And when Alex comes back too, we got Preston as well, and Moon. I think we have a really dangerous rotation at outside backer.
No question about that. Lots of depth. Let's talk about double trouble. And this does not even include Alex Highsmith, who's been really good when he's been in there. Take your pick.
Man, this is what you want to see when you're talking about having two guys that can provide pressure, that can win one-on-ones. That's Nick Herbig, that's TJ Watt. And the way that these guys complemented each other today, which way do you want to slide the protection? Who do you want to help out between your tackles when this is the production that both of these guys are capable of? I mean, splash plays, this is what you need, and this is why TJ Watt is paid and is the greatest in the world. And when we're talking about Nick Herbig, why he's trying to be the next in line to be that guy to get another Highsmith type contract. those guys, that production, this is how the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is designed to win. I mean, whether you're talking about this year or even going back to the times when it was Lamar Woodley and James Harrison, we want pass rushers that can create havoc so you don't have to blitz, and we can allow our cover guys to not have to take one less guy out of there to create pressure. Great job by those guys today, though.
No question. It's nice to hear that, Nick Herbig loves to be coached, and he will take any criticism. I think that's a great step for any young kid. You can always be better, and they're trying to get the best out of you. All right, let's talk about the Ford road ahead for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it starts next week with a rematch of Cleveland. Real quick, what do you expect from Cleveland?
Man, Cleveland's going to be tough. They believe in Jameis Winston, and that to me was their biggest issue this season. Quarterback play, now that they have a guy that is a little bit more buttoned up at the position, they are a lot more challenging.
All right, then after that, that's where it gets really tough. Now, you got all these games coming up, 10 days, 3 games, Hard Knocks in the building, 425, you got the Eagles, and then it is the big matchup with the Baltimore Ravens. After that, Kansas City on Christmas Day. Fa-la-la-la-la, we'll all be here for that one, and then the end is a rematch with Cincinnati. By then, they may be tapped out, just ready to go on vacation, so who knows what that's going to look like. All right, what about the AFC North? Well, Baltimore, as you know, is playing a big game today. We don't want you to change the channel, though, because we have your calls coming up. But you take a look at what's going on here. You can tell that the entire AFC right now goes through Kansas City. They just continue to win games. Somehow you wonder how they're doing it. Buffalo tonight, big game in the Snow Bowl, a big one up there in Buffalo against San Francisco, which is sorely beset with injury. Then the Steelers now at 9-3. They'd love to get in that top seed somehow. They could if they see Kansas City lose and then beat them head-to-head. Then Houston after that. Baltimore's in a wild card. Cincinnati took a real hit today. If they had won, they would have been right up there knocking on the door with Indianapolis and Miami, but they're not. So Kansas City just keeps doing. They know how to win, but they're getting lucky.
They are finding a way, man. Obviously, you know what, Patrick Mahomes, that's a big boost for them, but that team, I don't believe in them all the way just yet. They're finding a way to get out of stadiums, but we'll see what that looks like come December 25th.
All right, well, coming up next, you're going to get to talk to the man who knocked out Brett Favre and ended his career streak. How many games in a row was it? You know
297 games. I wasn't counting. Who was counting? I was counting that.
I remember that play. He still feels it right now. It was big, and it ended that streak for Brett Favre. All right, it's coming up. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We want to hear from you at 412-575-2600. That'll wrap up the Ford Extra Point. Steelers win 44-38. Your reaction is next.